guys, welcome back. It's me, Crystal Sky. How are y'all doing today? And today we're going to be doing a continuation of Beyond the Isle of the Lost Wonderland. Last time we read page 41 to page 50. Today we're reading page 51 to page 60. Enjoy! The garden party had been brave enough to steal a tart. Did he have something the others didn't? Or did that rebellious impulse exist in all the Wonderland kids? I have been sneaking out forever, even without your help, Red said, thinking out loud. Do you think the others actually want to do stuff like this? Wouldn't they if they had the chance? Chester traced patterns in the grass with a stick. They would have to be pretty motivated. Sometimes I look into the eyes of those kids and think nothing's there, just robots, the lot of them. My uncle's a soldier card, Ace said. We hardly hear from him anymore, but my dad says it's because the Queen really wants the cards to be a single deck instead of individuals, like they all think with the same mind. He says it would only take one or two cards to start having opinions about how things should really be, and then these feelings would spread through the ranks. A slippery slope, he calls it. It means a very small number of outspoken cards can cause the whole house to fall. He raised an eyebrow at Chester, then read, If one of the Wonderland kids cracks, they all might. Red felt her heart beat a little bit faster as he spoke. Could she be understanding him correctly? Maybe Red had never wanted to be the leader of Wonderland, but the leader of the rebels. That had a nice ring to it. Interesting, Chester murmured. If one disagreement soldier card had broke the whole army, he glanced at Red. I wonder what an heir apparent would do. She said. But how could we pull off a real coup? Ace, you should see these kids at the party, standing silently for hours, ignoring the cake and presents. They're in deep. That's it, Ace cried. What? His grin was devilish. We'll throw a party. Chester eyed him in surprise. A real party? Red asked. Not an unparty? I didn't even know if that's been done in Wonderland before. That just might work, Chester said, rubbing his chin in thought. Have you heard of the ones they throw in Oregon? He spread his hands wide. Pizza, nachos, ice cream, the works. Loud music and dancing. You can do anything you want there. Red considered it wisely. Oregon parties were nothing more than rumors, usually told in whispers by scandalous adults and soldier cars. But they were tantalizing a party like that. Just might be enough to knock Wonderland off its feet. Where would we do it, Red asked. The garden can hold most of Wonderland High, but we would attract way too much attention there. We'll attract too much attention in a lot of places, Chester said. The gym at school is no good, even though it's a nice size. I'm guessing your castle is out, Red. What about right here, said Ace. The two others looked at him. Well, not right here, he clarified, but in the Royal Woods. The forest is deep enough that we wouldn't be seen from the road or the castle. I'm sure we could find a clearing where we could be as loud as we want. I like it, Chester said, a low grin starting on his face. I think people will be more likely to enjoy themselves if they're far away from where the Queen of the soldier cars could find us. No offense, Red. None taken, she sighed. I agree. So it's settled, they said. We're doing this. Let's all brainstorm some ideas, and then we can start planning right away tomorrow after school. Let's, Red said. She grinned as they all shook hands to seal their pact. I have to head back, said Ace. He smiled at Red. It was nice meeting you, Princess. Red cleared her throat. You too, she said a little too brightly as he waved and headed off into the forest. I've got to go too, said Chester. But hey, Red. He pushed his floppy hair out of his face and looked a little sheepish. What is it? I underestimated you. I really wasn't sure if you would climb out the window tonight or sack your soldier cards on us. It's staying. Oh, come on, Red said quietly. You're not even my soldier cards. I know, Chester nodded, and I'm sorry. I mean, you're the Queen's daughter. But I was wrong. And Ace, he would play enough cards that he can tell who's bluffing and who's not. and it's clear to me that he trusts you." Red put her hands in the pocket of her leather jacket and willed herself not to blush. "Well, thanks for that," she said. "I want you to know you can trust me. I'm on your side, not my mom's." It felt unfamiliar to say, but this was the first time someone her age had been able to get past their first impression of Red. The words had come rushing out of her all at once. "Fabulous," Chester said in an emotionless of Mr. Maddox and winked. "I'll see you tomorrow, Princess." "See you." A small smile played on Red's face as she watched him go. She had a hunch that such a party would cause a great deal of trouble, which was just the kind she was looking for. Chapter 8. Tea for Free. But the next day, as if by design, Red and the boys planned to continue their scheming were threatened. Red was sitting in her fifth period class, History of Tea Parties, when a carrier from the Queen's Castle appeared at the door. "Message for you, my lady," he said, bowing snappily, and delivered a sealed envelope. Red's cheeks burned from being singled out, and she knew every student in class would have been looking her way if they weren't completed to stare straight ahead, perfectly still in their seats. Then she thought of what Ace, and Chester had talked about last night, and almost wished they would stare, whisper, and do anything against the grain. Red shook her head and opened the letter. Inside was a scrawled note in her mother's hand. "Red, darling, I'm in a picnic, realizing how close the tea is and how much we still must do. I've called in some backup and have notified the school that you're excused from classes from 5th period onwards. Beginning today, please head home as soon as you get this. Hearts and kisses. Mother." Red felt her fingertips tighten around the parchment as she recognized the urge to rip the paper. Royal training time had doubled, and she would miss both History of Tea Parties and croquet for the next 2 weeks. This was not what Red had signed up for. In fact, she would have signed up for any of it. But Red recalled their party, their real party, once more, and it strengthened her resolvement. The more she could keep her mother off the scent until the preparations were complete, the better chance they had at success. It was still bargainly that Red packed up her books and slipped out of the classroom. She paused in the hall, wondering if she could get a message to Chester, but she wasn't sure which class he was in, and she had no idea how to get in touch with Ace, as much as she might have liked to. Red shook her head as she started on the forest path. The thought had come to her unabandoned. She hadn't had the time or the energy for a crush, and the Queen would put a swift end to any relationship of that nature with someone who was a commoner, a homeschooled one at that. The Queen of Hearts often crowded that there were no better discipline and education than at her own Wonderland High, which she had both founded and funded. Red assumed her mother would be quicker to accept a relationship between Red and one of the quarter's children or someone of noble blood, but in truth, Red suspected it would be just one more thing her mother would disapprove of her doing. The Queen of Hearts often empathized that you couldn't trust anyone, and Red was certain this extended to any obstacle love interest. She sometimes wondered if it extended to daughters. When Red arrived in the ballroom, there were 2 new faces there to greet her. She recognized both girls as recent graduates of Wonderland High, who were now appropriate in the Queen's court, learning to be ladies of nobility, who spent their days sitting in portals and looking displeased. The first was Red's height, with a plump face that read. What sure would have looked cheerful if it wasn't pulled into a frown. Her light blonde hair was styled in a tight, complicated updo that looked rather uncomfortable. The other was much shorter, with a timid, mousy disposition and chestnut hair. Both girls were dressed in outer that was nearly as outlandish as the Queen's. Black and white silks accommodated with reds. "Darling, you're here," the Queen cried when she caught sight of Red. "Wonderful! I would like you to meet these two young women of the court, who will assist you in your coaching. Miss Twee and Miss Dora, daughter of Dormouse." Twee curtsied, and Dora gave a polite curtsy smile that showed her two front teeth. "Hi," Red said, wary of their attention. Over the course of her life, she had learned that the closer people were to her mother, the more awkwardly they treated Red. This was being further proven by Chester and Ace, boys who had spent their lives far away from the castle. Red had felt like a normal person with the two of them last night. "Good afternoon, Princess Red," the two young women cheered. Red nodded at them. "Just Red is fine. I have so many things to plan," the Queen of Hearts continued. "Caterers to call, talking with the groundskeeper, so Twee and Dora will get you started today. You're not even going to be here? I'll come back and check on your progress very soon," the Queen assured her. She packed a kiss on Red's forehead, and then the look came back to her face. "Frog boys," she yelled, calling her butlers, "I need 7 rolls of parchment, now." As Red's mother strolled from the room, Twee and Dora moved to the tea table that was set up for practice. They sat delicately back, remorse straight and elbows off the table. Twee eyed Red and patted the empty place, gesturing for her to come over. Red sighed and said, taking her napkin and unfolding it in her lap. "Try again," Dora sniffed. "I'm sorry," Red said. "The fold," Twee pointed at Red's napkin. "It should be facing you, and then you should unfold it all the way." Red paused and looked at them both to see if they were joking. If they were, it was perfectly deadpan. Would anyone even notice that at the ceremony?" Red asked. "Oh, you'd be surprised," Twee raised her eyebrows. "The kind of repercussion I would get from my mother if I did it your way. Ugh." "Now," Dora said, "say you're serving oysters from Brittany Beach. Which fork would you use?" "I don't really care for oysters," Red said. In fact, she thought they were disgusting. "Can we use a different example?" "No." Red scanned her place sitting. There were smaller plates stacked on larger ones, bowls and silverware of all sizes. Dora and Twee had the same. She had seen such place settings before. The Queen of Hearts loved having fancy dinners, and they often had guests in the grand hall. Red's mother was strict about everything, including table etiquette. The fact that she had brought 2 Wonderland High alums and as coaches told Red just how important this tea ceremony was supposed to be. The Queen was very keen on appearance, of course. But it seemed her mother also believed this would be a criminal moment in Red's political career. Hazarding a guess, Red picked up the smallest fork, which she felt was the most oyster-sized. "Lucky guess," Dora said. "And salad," said Twee. There were 2 other forks on the opposite side, one large, one small. Big salad leaves were hard to pick up, Red reasoned, so she chose the larger of the 2 utensils. "Brawn," Dora crowded. "The waiter brings sherbet," Twee jumped in. The more guesses Red missed, the slimmer their grins got. "What do you use?" Red tried not to roll her eyes. She knew enough to recognize the dessert utensils at the top of her plate, but sherbet was a silly question. "Surely either the fork or the spoon would be used," she said. "It's sherbet." Alright guys, that is everything for today. Today we have read page page 51 to page 60. I hope you guys enjoyed today's reading, and as I keep saying in literally all my videos that I have been doing since reading of this book, if you catch any hints from either the film The Sinister Rise of Red or Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland, I mean, any hints or little like Easter eggs from that movie. I know the Alice in Wonderland is a very old movie, but I personally have caught some Easter eggs in this book from that film and from Alice in Wonderland as well. If you have, feel free to share in the comments or keep it to yourselves, and I'll see you guys next time.